Y'all, today's show is so good.
But number one, I've never seen an intro like that.
It is my hope and desire that not only will episode 30 still be fun, but episode 300 will be even more fun. You are made for something great, so go and be awesome.
Ten seconds remaining.
Hello, and welcome to the show. My name is Renee Hastings, and I'm your host of Renee Speaks. Y'all, today's show is going to be so fantastic. And part of that reason is because our sponsor today is Wilbron, one of Alabama's most premier public relations firms that you'll ever want to work with. Definitely check them out at www.wilbron.com. Now, let us get to our host, our guest. Our guest is Rebecca Claeys, and she is a bachelor's educated registered nurse, and she holds credentials as a certified professional coder and a certified program integrity professional. She's received numerous accolades for her work during the COVID-19 public health emergency, including a certificate of recognition and a challenge coin from the state of Wisconsin Department of Health Services and a certificate of appreciation from the U.S. Army 78th Training Division. After running on the corporate hamster wheel for 20 years, chasing the next big career step, that's what she calls Rebecca now helps women professionals facing burnout to reclaim their core purpose, which she refers to as the why, so that they can define their freedom, joy, and success on their terms. Her book, When What Gives Way to Why, was released on November 27th. Y'all put your hands together for Rebecca Claeys.
Hello, thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely. I am so thrilled that you are here, Rebecca, because there are so many people in the audience who can truly are familiar with what you're talking about, with going in circles, it seems like, on the hamster wheel, going around and around, doing the same thing over and over again, day in, day out. It's the same old grind, and it leads to burnout. But you have discovered what it takes to keep that from happening so that people can live more fulfilled lives. So I can't wait to get into it with you. So why don't you start us out by telling us what was the point in time that took you to this place that said, enough is enough, I've had it, I'm doing something different?
Absolutely. So I have been honored to work on the state of Wisconsin's COVID-19 public health emergency response. And it was a big job. I mean, there were not a whole lot of us, and it was a lot of work. There was testing to be done. There were supplies that need to be organized and shipped out across the state. We didn't have a whole lot of technical infrastructure. And we were working long days, 7 days a week, because viruses don't take weekends off, unfortunately.
Right.
And, I have memories of spending weeks in a row doing 12-hour days, 7 days a week. And there was a reason I was doing it, right? Because it helped other people live. It helped other people live better lives. And I could put that energy into it, knowing that what I was doing was going to make other people's lives easier.
Yes.
And you
Well,
can do that for a
yeah.
while.
Yeah. Well, so I can relate to
Yeah,
that. Certainly, thank you. First of all, thank you
yeah,
for all the work you did, all the time you put in, the sacrifices that you made of time and spent with your family, the sacrifice that you made of your own self and your self-care. Thank you for it all. I know it was not easy. And so I truly appreciate you and all the work that you did and all you've done to serve your community in Wisconsin, which is where I'm from, by the way. So thank you for your service to our
yes,
state.
absolutely.
So as you were going through these long days, and it was getting hard, but it sounds like you kept first and foremost in the front of your mind that this isn't just about you. This is
Mhm.
about the impact that you make or the legacy that you leave because of the work that you're doing. So that I'm sure, I mean, tell us, did that have any influence in as to why you kept doing it?
Absolutely. It was the reason I kept doing it. There were multiple opportunities for me to leave the response, and I didn't want to. The work was really fulfilling, knowing that I was helping other people. Um, and it was really draining. I mean, you can do anything for a short period of time. And I took that and I multiplied it by like 50, 75, 100 short times and crammed them all into one spot. And it
Mhm.
got to the point where that wasn't enough anymore. I was burnt
Mhm.
out beyond burnt out. I was in this really low spot that doesn't really have a word for it. Like,
Mm.
no matter what I did, no matter how many strategies I leveraged or podcasts I watched or books I read, none of it provided me with a tool to actually help myself get out of that burnout and back to a point where I could engage with my life again. I could
Mhm.
engage with work again and be okay with it. You
Mhm.
know, it was all down to just stress less. And that
I like that.
sounds,
Stress less.
well, stress less sounds kind of easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, just stress less.
Just stress less, right? But,
Right.
you know, the solutions to do that, like take a vacation or do some spa care or some retail therapy, those work for a short period of time, like
Mhm.
3 days, a week max, and then you're
Mhm.
right back in the same spot. So it's this vicious cycle of trying to get yourself out and falling back in because all just stress less does is treat a symptom. Stress is a symptom of burnout. It's not a root cause.
Right.
And I started to
Mhm.
realize that. And
Mhm.
I realized I needed to dig deeper and find the root cause if I was ever going to find my way out of this really deep, devastating burnout that I was in.
Mm.
You know, that
Wow.
deep bone deep tired that you know the kind where you feel like nobody's ever felt it before. Nobody's ever experienced this tired and you just can't get out of it. That's
Yes.
where I was.
Yes. Oh, I can definitely relate to that, and I'm so sorry that you were in that place. But from my experience, when I was first starting the business,
Mhm.
Executive Help Now, it was during a time when I was working a full-time day job, working the
Mhm.
business full-time, trying to be a wife, trying to be a mom, trying to be, a nana, all the things. And there were several in a row, 16-hour days, just
Yep.
back to back to back to back to back. So when you say tired, when you're operating on just a few hours of sleep night after night after night,
Mhm.
that takes its toll on your body and in your mental capacity and your ability to even properly respond in
Yeah.
normal communications. you
Yep.
know, I mean, so
Absolutely.
yeah, I can totally relate to what you're talking about. Um, but within that, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason
Mhm.
and that there is purpose in everything. And
Mhm.
so for me, I discovered the need for more help, So I got an assistant so that I could delegate more things to, so that I could lighten my load and not be so overwhelmed. In your particular situation, it sounds like you took advantage of this experience to write a book.
I did. I did.
Awesome.
This book was a deep exploration for me of how did I get to this point? What is that root cause of burnout? What is this thing that's driving it? Because it's not just happening to me, it's happening to everybody around me. It's not just happening in public health, it's happening in our society. We are societally burnt out. Why are we societally burnt out?
And what did you discover?
Yeah, it comes down to we have tied our personal worth to the need to produce. The more we produce, the more worthy we feel. And the more regard we get from others. The less we produce, the less worthy we feel. The less regard and support we get from others.
Wow. That's quite a revelation.
It is.
That's like life-changing words. Those are life-changing words, I think, because if you equate your worth as a person to how much you produce, then that just to me somehow doesn't seem healthy.
It's not. It's what we've been taught, though. It's what we've been taught since we were children.
Right. And conditioned.
Yes. Think about the honor roll. The better you do, the better grade you produce, the more regard you're going to get. I don't know if you had the Book It program when you were growing up. You read a certain number of books and you got a free pizza from personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut. And
that does sound kind of familiar. That was 100 years ago. So
it really was. It was. But, the more books you read, the more you produced in reading. You got a reward. So we're reinforcing these cultural concepts with our children, and we learned them as children without realizing it. It's what we were taught. How our families interacted with each other is based in that same productivity myth.
Wow. So what you're saying is, it sounds like the bottom line is, it doesn't matter how much you produce. You're still worthy. You're still lovable. You're still great.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Absolutely. I completely agree with that 100%.
It boils down to your worth as a human being is granted to you the moment you take your first breath, and it's with you until you take your last. Nobody can take it from you. You are worthy because you exist.
That's right. That's right. God, girl, I believe that we're all children of God, and that, when we know who we are and to Him, how much He loves us, then that's what matters. We are loved. We are worthy. We are worthy of love. And it doesn't have to be based on, it is not based on production and works. It's because it's just grace and love.
Exactly. We don't have to earn salvation. It's given to us because we are loved, right?
That's right. So I love that.
My pastor's wife growing up had this great saying that I've latched onto, and I've just kind of run with it. We are not human doings. We are human beings.
That's right. That's right. Yes, I've heard that one before too. And I do. I love that. Yes, we are human beings. We just need to be. And within us, there should be an innate desire to want to be the best that we can be. But my best may not look like your best. And your best may not look like the next person's best. And it's okay because we've given our best.
Right. So this is kind of how do you balance the fact that my worth isn't tied to my productivity, and yet I live in a very productivity focused world. I need to produce to eat still, even if I don't think that my worth is tied to my productivity. And
Right.
the answer lies in finding your personal purpose. And I use purpose a little bit differently than a lot of people do. I use it instead of as a noun. As a noun, it's a goal. It's a thing to be achieved. And once you've checked that box, what next? You
Mm-hmm.
have to find something else to put in there as your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of empty nesters feel lost after their kids move out, because their purpose was to raise those kids. And now what next?
That's right. That's right. They lose themselves in their kids and like
Exactly.
who am I now that I'm not an active mom or not, a day-to-day hands-on guiding, directing, leading mom.
Yep. So when you look at a purpose as a noun, that's a what. It's
Mhm.
a noun is a what.
Mhm.
If we instead use that word purpose as an adjective, it becomes a why.
Mm. Give us an
Purpose,
example. Yeah,
sure.
talk more about that.
Yeah, my purpose is a descriptor of who I am at my core, absent any other relationships or responsibilities. It's
Hmm.
a representation of what I value. It describes me.
Okay.
And when I use that purpose, that why, as a lodestar in my decision making, I align all of my decisions to that purpose. What is important to me as a human, without being a mom, without being a sister or a daughter or a spouse or a friend or an employee or any of those other identities that we assume as people, just me.
Mhm.
When I'm in alignment with that, there isn't a bad choice to be made.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow, that's definitely one way to look at it for sure. Absolutely. Because you're staying true to yourself. You're
Exactly.
staying true to who you are at your core. You're not trying to people please. You're not
Mhm.
trying to be all things to everybody.
Mhm.
You're staying true to who you are, what your gifts are, what your talents are, what your hopes, dreams, and desires are.
Yes.
That's where you are aligned in your purpose.
Yes.
And that's blessed.
It
we,
is.
we were given those gifts and skills and talents for a reason, and they
It
are
is.
blessed and we operate in them. And someone uses, or I've heard the saying, I'm sure everyone, or most people have heard the saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And that's the way I feel as well. But again, as you were saying, when you keep on doing it over and over and over again, and there's not balance, that's where the problem comes in, when there's a lack of balance. Because then you'll find, in my experience, that what you love to do will almost become burdensome because of
Mhm.
how much you have to do it. So then when they say too much of a good thing isn't a good thing, there is
Mhm.
absolute truth in that.
There
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'd like to offer a different version of when you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Thank you. Yeah, I welcome it.
When you love who you are, you'll never work a day in your life.
I love that. Yes.
When you love who you are, when you embrace that purpose, that descriptor of you, again, without any of those obligations, without any of that, well, I should think about this. I should pull in this other thing. Shed the should, get rid of the should,
Yeah.
and focus on you. Sometimes it's important to be selfish for a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you love that person, when you love who you are, and you stay in alignment with that, the work that you do will be productive
Mm-hmm.
as a natural byproduct of you living your purpose. The
Yes.
productivity comes. You don't have to force it. Productivity in and of itself is not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
We just can't hold it up as an idol.
Right, right. Absolutely. Productivity is actually, you get when you do produce, it gives you feelings of accomplishment.
Yep.
And those feelings of accomplishment bring, joy and satisfaction. And those are good things. So we definitely want to be productive. We want to be contributors, producing in society, an even better society, so that, the legacy we leave is one that it will benefit future generations.
Yes.
And you do that, like you said, and staying in alignment with who you are, loving yourself first so that you can take care of yourself and be your most productive self, because you're coming from a place of natural ease, I think. Because when
Yes.
something comes natural for you, then you feel like you could do this with your eyes closed and one hand tied behind your back.
Yep.
Because it's something that you do so easily, comes so naturally for you, that this is just something that you should be doing.
Yes.
Because, and there I go with the word should. but you do it because it is in alignment with who you are as a person. And that leads to you living out your purpose and operating in your gifts and skills and talents.
It does. And what you're describing is defining success on your own terms. When you're in that space of alignment, you decide what success looks like. You make that definition. You're not looking for regard from other people. You're not
Right.
waiting for that regard to come pouring in because of your accomplishments.
Mm-mm.
You define it based on your alignment. You don't
Right.
have to wait for a boss to tell you, oh, if you just do this little thing, there'll be a promotion waiting for you. And then there never is.
Hmm. Well, and further to that, so this makes me think about when you are in alignment and you are operating and you're not seeking to please people. You're seeking to be your best self.
Exactly.
Then when you are being your best self, then you can operate and think about, if I continue on this trajectory, how many lives are going to be impacted? Maybe that's your goal. Maybe how success to you might not even be monetary. It might be the number of lives impacted, the number of lives that you've changed, or how much you're able to tithe, or whatever that looks like. It doesn't have to be like, I want to be a millionaire and then I'm successful. No, I spoke a kind word to somebody, and because of that, they made a better choice than they were going to make before, or something, it could be just as simple as that,
And it can be even simpler than that. It can be, I'm successful because I stayed true to myself, because I stayed in alignment with my purpose.
Right, exactly. I love that. So as you think about your book, and the book title is When What Gives Way to Why, can you share a key lesson or strategy from your book that resonates deeply with readers?
Yeah, so it's really about understanding that separation of where your personal worth lies. I go into this pretty deeply and understanding what is the cultural context around why we have bought so heavily as a culture into this myth of productivity. When you separate that from your understanding, there's like a void here, right? And you have to fill that with something. If you don't fill it, it's like there's a rubber band around that old understanding. It's going to snap right back in.
Mm-hmm.
You have to fill it with something that is strong enough to hold that rubber band down and keep it from coming back in. And that something is an understanding, a deep understanding, radical acceptance, and radical compassion for who you are as a person, who you were created to be.
Right. Right. Absolutely. I love that. And I'm hanging on your every word as you're talking, like, okay, so it sounds really good in my ears, to 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 be true to myself.
Mhm.
But there's the part of me struggling. I shouldn't even say struggling, because I also agree that your productivity, your worth is not connected to your productivity, and your
Mhm.
productivity is not connected to your worth. So I definitely 100% agree with, when we operate in our gifts and our skills and our talents, then we're free. We're
Mhm.
to be true. We're being true to ourselves. So
Yes.
I absolutely 100% agree. But what's the difference between pursuing a what and a why in one's career or as they're building a business? So you were talking in your book about, when what gives way to why. What is
Mhm.
that all about?
So again, the what is a thing. It's a noun. It's a goal. It's something to be accomplished. It's a next step in a career. It's the next project to be completed. When that is our sole focus, we are not going to be in alignment. The next thing is going to come, and then we have to complete that. And then we have to decide, what is the next thing? There's always going to be a next thing. We're never going to feel satisfied because there's always a next thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Our why, our, our why is our purpose, though. So as we're looking at these things in our career, we can decide, is this thing that I'm about to embark on in alignment with my purpose? If it's
Right.
in alignment with my purpose, great, I'm going to go ahead and do it because it aligns with who I am. And I don't have to worry about what comes next because my worth isn't tied to this thing being there or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's if it's not in alignment with my purpose, is there an adjustment I can make to bring it into alignment with who I am?
Hmm.
If so, I'll make that adjustment. If it's not in alignment and I can't do that, why am I doing it? Why am I spending my energy and resources on it?
Right.
And that
Right.
goes for a project, that goes for starting a new business, that goes for a partnership, that goes for a promotion.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and hearing that reminds me of like a previous guest that we've had in the past, and they were talking about the importance of making sure that whatever you're doing, is in alignment with what you have established as your base for, your mission, vision, values, your purpose. It all has to be in alignment. And so people will throw these ideas at you saying, oh, hey, you should do this. Oh, hey, you should do that. Blah, 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 blah. And you have to take those words with basically a grain of salt, because if they're not in alignment with what you have set as the goal for your life based on your purpose and your gifts, then
Mhm.
that might be a good idea for maybe later. Maybe it might be a good idea for, a different project. But if it doesn't fit into this box that you've already set as your thing,
Yep.
then it's not for you. And that's one way that you can determine whether or not something is for you or not. Because if it doesn't fit in the box, then it's not supposed to be a part of the process or a part of the your journey at this time. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll give you an example with my purpose. So, my purpose comes down to 6 words: fight wisely, share freely, and love recklessly.
Hmm.
And so, as long as everything that I do is in alignment with one of those 3 concepts, I'm living my purpose.
Mhm. So I don't want to miss them. Fight wisely, share freely, love recklessly.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. It's so good. So, as you think about those three things, fighting wisely, sharing freely, and loving recklessly, what practical steps or strategies do you recommend to avoid falling into the burnout trap?
Absolutely. So you got to have a do to go along with your knowledge, right? You can't just learn something and boom, I'm magically smarter and I can do this thing and put it into practice. It takes work. There's work to be done. I've embedded 13 exercises throughout this book to help you learn how to get rid of the should, get rid of the productivity inside your head, and then find out who you are, what you value at your core, and transform that into your purpose. As well as how do you apply that then to your life? How do you make it real? So there are 13 exercises in this book. A lot of them have worksheets that are on my website that you can download for free.
And we're sharing the website right now at www.cleopatraseeds.com. And that's plural, cleopatraseeds.com.
Yes. And those worksheets, along with exercise worksheets for the other exercises, are actually all, I'm working on compiling them all into a workbook that you'll be able to get. That will be coming out on February 17th. And I'm really excited about it. There'll be lots of room to write and scribble and cut with scissors and everything. And you can color and really making it really interactive. But you have to do the work. You have to be willing to do more than just read to make a change. It's one thing to hear a concept. It's another to internalize that concept.
Absolutely. And it's so great that you have these tools and resources available, because like you said, we can read all day, but if it just goes in one ear and out the other, what is it benefiting you?
Exactly.
It absolutely is not. The most you might be able to do is share, verbally what you may have read if you remember. But the making of many books, there's no end. You know, there's a lot of information out there, and we might retain, just a smidge of it, which could still benefit somebody. But still, now that when you have actual worksheets that you can work on, get it out of your head onto paper, so you can visualize it, see it, keep track of it. Because who's to say that what you put on this paper today is going to be the same as what you would put on it, a year from now, 2 years from now. You can track your progress, see your growth by putting it down on paper. So thank you so much for those tools and resources that are available. So Rebecca, if people want to stay in touch with you after watching today's episode, how can they reach you?
Sure. So on my website, there are quite a few contact us forms. There's an actual contact us page. And then we have a bunch of services listed as well. If you're interested in coaching to walk through some of these steps and exercises with support, direct support, or in a group setting, you can reach out to us about that as well. Otherwise, you can just email me directly at rclaeys@cleopatraseeds.com.
I love it. I love it. And why Cleopatra seeds? What does that mean?
Sure. So this was a lot of digging to try to find a brand that sat well, that embodied the growth, the rebirth process, and also the idea of we are all a little bit misunderstood. There's a lot to us that people don't know and don't understand. Cleopatra is a misunderstood character in a lot of ways. She was a lot of things beyond what we know her for. We know her for her beauty. We know she was Queen of Egypt. We know her for her love affairs and that she died with a snake. but the fact that she was an author, that she was an alchemist, and that some of her formulas that she created actually are the basis for things that have traveled through to now. You know, she was a brain, but we don't talk about those parts of her. Those are hidden. And then thinking about hidden, we're all seeds as we start this journey. We're all in the dirt. All we need is some water and some sunshine, some warmth to allow us to sprout up and grow into the amazing people that we can become.
Right. Absolutely. That's so fantastic. It makes me think about, you know, on the journey toward even making disciples. That's when you talk about seeds and planting and watering, how, you know, we all are on a journey. And, you know, as we learn more about who we are in Christ, you know, we may plant a seed in somebody's ear about, you know, something to help them know and appreciate what an amazing relationship with God can look like. And then, but that it doesn't maybe take root. And then somebody else comes along and waters it, you know, and then they continue and growing and wanting to know more about, you know, our amazing God. But it's him who makes it grow, you know. So we all have a role to play on each other's journey. And I'm so ecstatic that you and I got to cross paths and have this incredible discussion today, and helping busy entrepreneurs and business owners know and understand how they can avoid, you know, being burnt out, staying true to themselves, finding, you know, living out their purpose and their gifts and talents that they have, and, you know, striking that balance and understanding their why, so that they can continue making sure that what they're doing in their life is in alignment with what that is. So thank you so much, Rebecca, for your time today. Truly, truly, truly appreciate you. And I'm so grateful for your words of wisdom, and wish you nothing but the best for your book.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me here. This was a wonderful conversation, and I'm glad that our journeys crossed.
Thank you. Well, Rebecca, you were made for something great. So go and be awesome.